Hello, everyone. This is the Connected Educator Appreciation Day, Connected Educator Monthly Meetup. Our topic today is about making connections that matter. We have today a panel of 6 amazing educators from around the globe, from 5 of the continents, which is a lot of fun. I'm going to say my name first, and then we'll just go around in a circle here. Introduce yourselves and say what's what about what you do and why you like what you do as much. My name is Michael. I have been a teacher since about 99 in Canada, moving to England, moving to Scotland, and moving to Poland with my journey as a teacher. I left the classroom a few years ago and with a private company where I built a curriculum for their platform. Beyond that time, I've also worked as a writer with publishing companies. I've worked as an editor for them too, and now I'm a course creator for a new ed tech startup down in London, and I get to work in my PJs, which is lots of fun. Someone else, on you go.
Hi, it's Marialice Curran, and I am joining from Connecticut in the United States. It's 4 p.m. here on Saturday. Very happy to be joining you for this monthly meetup. My educational career, I started teaching as a middle school teacher. I've been a middle school principal, and I was a faculty member for the past 10 years, teaching teachers both at the undergraduate and graduate level. And most recently, I took a big leap of faith, and I have been promoted to associate professor with tenure, and anybody in the world of academia knows that's the golden ticket. But I actually want to be a part of change. I don't want to be a part of privilege, and I pushed the envelope as much as I could in higher education, and I recently have joined the world to be an entrepreneur and am the founder of the Digital Citizenship Institute, where we change the narrative around technology and social media. So very happy to be joining everybody.
Hi, it's 10 p.m. here in Zagreb, Croatia. My name is Vlatka Butkovic. I've been a teacher, English as a second language teacher, since 1992, I think. And for the past 20 years, I've been the director and the principal of Butkovic Education Center. Thanks to international collaboration, I work as a consultant, presenter, and well, it has changed my life immensely. It kickstarted all the other things that were put aside before because of the teaching, and I just love every minute of it. I'm very, very happy to be with you today.
Hello, everybody. I am so happy to be with you from Tunisia. I am a computer, my name is Monia Mahmoudi. I am a computer science teacher in a middle school. I am a twinning member. I am a Teach SDGs ambassador, and I am leading teacher of Europe Code Week in Tunisia. And I am so lucky to have you as my PLN. And because of connections, I am here with you. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, I'm Tilka from the Language Toolbox. I'm on a Sunday morning and I have lots of coffee. I started my journey with the Language Toolbox 4 years ago after being a primary school teacher for many years and becoming somewhat frustrated with the way that languages were here in Australia. Continued across to Italy, where I also discovered there were issues with the way that languages were taught in schools. So I started my journey with the Language Toolbox, and now 4 years on, I have seen myself travelling around the world working with teachers and their students, which is how I met Vlatka. I met Vlatka a few years ago now and went to her school. And I'm really excited to be involved in these wonderful online collaborations with my colleagues from all over the world. So thank you very much for having me.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Sandra Hortua. I am from Colombia in South America. I work as an English teacher. I have been teacher for about 10 years now. In the past, I used to teach at college. Well, I still teach at college, but now my main job is at school. I'm teaching elementary school. And I'm so happy to be here connected with you guys. This is my second time here as a panelist. We went here together in October last year. It was fantastic. We were talking about different topics about teaching with technology, about gamification, about connecting with teachers around the world. So we were doing many things, talking about many things. Today, I'm so happy, I'm so excited. We're gonna be talking about connection that matters. Just so happy to have you, all of you, here again.
Well, that's as good to go, I think. To add one more thing too, because Sandra took us to the past there. We're talking about what we've done in the past. This is our 6th Connected Educator Monthly Meetup, which is, I think, pretty marvelous, given that the team, there's 4 of us here. There's Vlatka and I, we're part of the organizing team for this Connected Educator Appreciation Day and our monthly meetups. There are 2 others behind the scenes who you don't see here today, are Cassie Reeder and Tim McDonald. Both of them are across in the States, as well as Marialice. They're in Florida and Texas. So we do have quite a diverse crowd that supports our team. Our next month's meetup is going to be with Catherine Goyette, who hails from California in the States. And her topic is still to be finalized for certain, but it'll be on our 3rd Saturday in July. So please keep that date open. It's the 20th of July, and we'll be putting out information about that in the very, very near future. Now, to start things off with our ideas for what's happening for today, our first question. And I'll ask it just now, and I might even suggest a couple of things first off, but I'm not going to talk for very much longer. The first question is, if you have made an effort to make connections with others, what was the catalyst for you? And if it's me to answer the question, I'm going to very briefly suggest, I think it was taking a first step. And I think that although my life as a teacher was very much based in technology, not that I use technology as the goal, but I liked to support learning with technology. And that could have been for increasing the fun level. It could be for increasing the ability to interact with textbooks and things, which were oftentimes a very fixed thing, a very plain thing. And some kids just found oftentimes it was too overwhelming in that there's a lot of business on the page, but some of them was bored. So I think that for me, reaching out to the other ways of making things exciting. When you have a class who've never used the internet before, and it was my first years of doing so, it's fun to see cartoons on the screen that are helping you learning. It's engaging, it's new, and these novel ideas for learners was what I think encouraged me to think, okay, where else can we go? What else can we do to keep the interest, to improve the interest?
Okay, well, in my case, the thing was like moving from not just waiting for a formal, let's say, environment to talk about the topics that teachers have in common. So that was what how I started getting connected with teachers. I live in a small town. We don't usually have like meetings where like all teachers can come and get together and talk about professional development opportunities. So we just have to like chase the opportunities. So for me, it was like finding an informal place or just informal meetings to talk about this. So that was the way how I started. When I started to study my master program, I have to do that in Bogota, that is the capital city of Colombia. But I didn't have to travel there. I did that online. It was basically self-directed. And I still have problems with getting connections, like face-to-face connections in my place, because we didn't have like the space, the meeting, the learning, the spaces for teachers to go there and talk about that. So what we teachers do here is like when we have, it could be informal meeting, it could be just like a reunion of teachers. We start our informal talks about topics that can give us opportunities for professional development. These days, like kind of a teacher that is in charge of telling other teachers about the things that we can find online, or the opportunities that are available for teachers, because we live in a small town, so we don't have access to to all the opportunities that teachers have in big cities. So for me, it was like finding an informal place to do that. So you don't have to wait for a formal meeting to talk about the things that you would like to have for professional development opportunities.
I love that. I'd love to just jump in. I have to tell you, I was shamed by students, right? Like I went into a third grade classroom when I had to be like 2009. And I have already put a tweet out there to Tracy Mercier. She, at the time, was a graduate student in one of my classes. She always made it available, like she would open up her classroom and bring the virtual world as well as, you know, people that could come in as an audience. And I remember these third graders typing away on their net books. How do you spell your name? I told them how to spell my name, and then they were Googling me. And it was the very first time that, like, I'd never even Googled myself. I thought, my gosh, if these third graders, how are we going to meet their needs when they go to the fourth grade, the fifth grade, middle school, high school? They're in my college classroom. Like, I tip my hat to Tracy Mercier because she was a really early adopter for being connected. And it changed me as a learner, not just as an educator. And I've never been able to teach the same as a result. Like, that idea of breaking down classroom walls for meaningfully and deliberately connecting and collaborating with others. So mine all goes back to students. My why goes back. And anyways, I love that we are able to represent so many different, I think Michael said 5 different continents right now. I mean, this is the beauty of being connected.
Yeah, it is.
For me, I was a student in a rural school. There was no internet, and my teachers was my windows to the world. So I have to inspire my children. And today, all the world is a small city. I joined Microsoft Educator Community, and I discovered new ideas. I joined many global events. So it was a great opportunity for me and for my students to connect with others, to discover new ideas, to discover other culture, to inspire other teachers, and others inspires us. So I am really a connected teacher, and I am a e-twinning member, and I am a trainer in my city. I connect with other teachers to help them, to encourage them to connect and use 21st century skills in our classrooms. I am so happy, and I learned many things from others through connecting classrooms with British Council. We participated in International School Award, and we win the award because we make more connections with other teachers around the globe. And we participated in many global events like Hour of Codes, International Peace Day, Teachers Day, Women's Day, because I am a SDGs ambassador. We are lucky teacher and lucky students.
Oh, great.
I have to say there are so many similarities between what Sandra said and Croatian culture. Croatia is altogether 4 million people. Zagreb, that I live in, is 1 million people, but the mentality is of a smaller town. People are very judgmental of one another, and they're very reluctant to join any kind of conversation, being afraid to be commented on afterwards. I thought it was 2015 that was a turning point for me. I'm very happy with my school team, and I have fabulous teachers, but I just needed somebody else's opinion, someone from the outside that wasn't emotionally involved in what we were doing, that was critical enough to provide some kind of feedback if we were instinctively, doing the right thing. And the first step was not virtual, it was CISA annual conference in Dubrovnik. CISA is an organization that provides education for teachers in American international schools. And there were 400 teachers from over 40 countries. And the conversations that they had were open, ego-free. Everybody talked about, not only about their success, but about the missteps that they took, which was quite a relief, frankly. And that's where it all started. The first connections happened there. I opened my Twitter account and started researching. And a few years later, we have Connected Educators Appreciation Day, and I've been participating in many online conferences, helping some of the platforms to be launched or updated. As you know, as a team leader and as a teacher, I do get several points of view at the same time, which can come in handy. I got advice on how to write, because I'm writing textbooks. On some of the conferences, I got fabulous advice about the tools to use, which made me self-publisher now. Just one step leads to another, and now 4 years later, 12 textbooks for English as a second language learning. Now a book in progress about the method that's behind the success of my school. One thing leads to another. It was really hard. The first question, as I wrote in the blog post, I just couldn't remember how it all started, but I know for sure that it won't end. You just can't go back to who you were before you met all these wonderful people. Just to hear your story, Monia, that got me going for the next week. Yeah.
I guess for me, the catalyst for me, when I was still teaching, still at my primary school in Melbourne before I embarked on my current journey, we were involved in a school project with 4 Victorian schools here in Australia and 4 primary schools and 4 primary schools in Italy. And between the 8 of us, 8 schools, we were sharing and collaborating with our project, a unique sister school project. So we were sharing resources, and the students, my students were obviously communicating in their Italian with their peers over in Italy. And we had Skype meetings, and just being able to share our work with each other, I definitely think that was the catalyst for me. So much so that I left my beautiful class students in 2014 and moved to Italy to work with those English teachers for our project, which we then ended up presenting at the World Expo in Milano in 2015. And my students from Melbourne and students in Italy, we all came together to present at this project, at this expo. So definitely the catalyst was with the kids, meeting and learning with the other kids.
That's amazing that we have these, diversity is amazing. Again, like I'm saying, we come from the same place in terms of where we're going with the kids, but what a different journey. And what an amazing journey we've all been on together at different times. To meet up here is remarkable. I think it's great. Our second question says this: what was the fear you had to overcome in order to join the talks and connect globally? I'm going to not go first this time, see how we go. So what did you have to overcome in order to take this step, I guess?
I can go first then. Well, for me, it was the trivial stuff. If I join online conference, which button do I click? Do they see me immediately? Just the dumb stuff that I learned then, that I needed to teach all of my students in order to help them overcome those trivia that prevented so many people from joining. I talked to my teachers, my staff, and many of them were just felt very much like leaving their comfort zone and overly exposed because they're online and their faces in this box and so on. So it was more, I mean, I was so hungry of conversations like this. It was more about the technique because I had to learn on my own. No one taught me, no one showed me in advance. But there was so much guidance that I did not expect from people who went through the same thing. So it was overpassed pretty quickly.
Okay, well, in my case, even I am an English teacher. Sometimes I feel like language can be a barrier Apart from that, and in South America, time zone, and sometimes for me, I get confused easily when I have an online meeting. That was like I was asking like many times. I need to know exactly the time that I was supposed to be here, because I tend to be confused with that. But those are fears, barriers that we have to overcome as teachers. And apart from that, I come from a small town. An internet connection here is sometimes not as good as the way we want it to be. But I always try, and lately it have been nice, and I have been have the access to connect to different online events, to take different online courses. And as I said, language, I still sometimes feel like I don't understand, like maybe if it's a very heavy British accent, I can understand. But I try, I'm there, and if I have to put subtitles, I do that. And I have to like just move, get this ready to see if I can understand. But I always try. So even I know as teachers, we're gonna find barriers, we're gonna find fears, but we have to try always.
I love your response, because it's an opportunity for us as educators to really model being learners first. And we all talk about lifelong learning. And I honestly didn't have any fear about making those first connections, because I felt like, you know, with those third graders, they really motivated me and it inspired me to make more connections for my students. But I felt like if I failed, or, you know, sometimes we don't actually say, I'm going to use this technology, because what happens if the connection drops, or say there's tech issues? I still think that's a really teachable moment. And it's just an opportunity for us really to embrace that we're learners before we're anything else. And instead of like that idea of talking at students, we're learning alongside students. And so that's just a really powerful piece. And I don't know, to me, it's bigger than any fear that could come with, I don't know, I don't know how I'm going to do this. The very first time that we put on a live stream event, it was during February of 2012, and we had a live audience, and we had students from Birmingham, Alabama on the screen. And I thought, oh my gosh, the chances are we're going to drop this call. But the chances are we didn't drop the call. And it was so powerful to have students really kicking off that message for a live audience as well as a live stream.
In my case, the main fear was the language. I said, can I understand others? Can I practice English language very well, because I am not English language teacher? Can my students understand others' ideas? And really, it was a good practices when we used Skype to learn, and Skype in classroom. My students react with other students and share with other students their emotions and their ideas and their practices. So as you know, I am a twinning member. We participated in many webinars and many live events with other schools from Europe. We did it. We can understand other, and we can share our ideas and learn from other, and share our culture, and learn other cultures and other skills. And using digital skills, it is very easy. We used Google Traduction. We used many tools to facilitate connection, and there is no fear now.
Yeah, I just thought that we owe it to our students. I don't think a teacher can fool a kid today that we know what they think if we don't try the way they live on a daily basis. It's just, you have to give it a try, and they love it when I ask them for advice. Sometimes, you know, I tried this. Oh, teacher, try it. There's another app. You're so old. This is an app for the old people. This one is faster. more pictures, things like that. But they get excited. And another thing is, being primarily a language school, my education center, how can we teach languages and not tell them what culture is behind that language, what lives are there, and show them that there are so many similarities between where they live and people on the other side of the globe. I don't think that one thing goes without another anymore.
Okay, I think that my fear is different. What you've presented here are ideas about you and about where you come from, or from Marialice, for where you can go. I think that where I was teaching, where I've been teaching for the past number of years, it's a cultural thing, and the culture is don't bother me, don't correct me, because if you do, I'll come right back at you. And that was sad, and it was really one of the difficulties I had in the classroom, because I wanted to improve, I wanted to get better, and I wanted to have feedback, not for the sake of getting feedback, for the sake of improving. And sometimes it happened that I was given feedback without next steps. Sometimes it happened that I didn't get feedback, and those two things are counterproductive. They're almost as bad as each other. I think, in fact, I found that when I was given feedback that I couldn't act upon, as in there wasn't a way to improve upon what I had done, what a waste of time. I've sat here for half an hour, I've read the document you gave me, and it all says the things I'm not doing well. Thanks, I feel great. You got to move on from that one. And I think, again, with some educators who I've worked with in this country, there's a fear. And the fear is that, but I can't let you see my work because you could tell me it's not good enough. That should be encouraged. I'm not saying that we should all be slamming everyone's work, but we should all be supporting each other's work and encouraging each other to improve. And I think if we're in a culture where there's too much fear about, but you could not like it, oh no, then we're not improving as educators. And we're not encouraging our learners to take risks either, which I think those two things go hand in hand.
Well, that fear is deeper than you would think. This year, I organized classes in a way that, let's say, 70% of the classes was taught by one teacher and 30% by another teacher. And you would not believe the fear they had of one another, and they're all friends in my school. So imagine how people feel in front of total strangers. So, you know, the big thing for me was to understand that you cannot judge people for being afraid, but help them walk them through it. That's what I'm doing now in Croatia. There's no reason for me to be the only one, so to speak. Of course, there are other people, but they're all quiet and they're still not connected enough. So now I never miss an opportunity, because I work with many principals in public schools. I never miss an opportunity to offer help. Some accept it, some not. I even go to schools if I'm invited to coach them what the first steps could be. And those are little steps still, but at least they know that it's out there. And there's always one person in a team that picks it up, and then that person spreads it to other people who are already searching for something like that.
And just to continue on with that theme and that topic that both of you have just talked about, is that there are so many teachers and educators out there who are so afraid of doing something different and stepping outside of the box, outside of their classroom, so to speak, that when someone else comes along who is doing something different, they can perhaps be perceived as a threat. It's just like you said about holding their hand and showing them that it's okay, and that you can work through these challenges. You've just got to take that first step.
That's a fantastic sentence to end on. The next question is, how have the connections you have made had an effect on your profession and practice? And that could be directly what Tilka just spoke of right now. You'll find a lot of these questions are going to intertwine and overlap. So again, if you find that I've already answered that question, feel free to not speak. And I think this time I'm going to take a break because I think this has been addressed by me a bit already. So how have the connections you have made had an effect on your profession and or your practice?
Okay, I can start by telling the stories. I have to tell you how I got into the Microsoft education community, how I got to represent my country in the educator event in Canada in 2017. So as I said at the beginning, I was in an informal, kind of informal meetings. I was in a school visiting like a kind of workshop that the English teachers have. And in one conversation there, one of the teachers told me that there is an opportunity for teachers that like to self-train. It is called Microsoft Education Community, and that was when I came back that day. I just Googled it and I start finding how I could have access to that. And then that was how I started my trip, and that was a journey there. I took different courses, I started learning a lot. And that was after a year, then they have the contest that teachers have to submit their project. And then that was how I got to know to the events that Microsoft have for teachers. But not just for me to be there with other teachers. That was how I learned there what other teachers do in their schools at different part of the world, and I brought many ideas from that event. And in my classes, I could put those new experience with my students. So it's not just for me as a teacher that I had the opportunity to continue growing as a teacher, but also because I could offer better classes to my students. That was not only that one. Also, in 2015, I got the opportunity to travel to Israel, to the Middle East. I was also connected when I finished my my master program. I kept in touch with all partners. They keep them sending information about opportunities, professional opportunities for teachers. I was there and I was filling and working on projects. Sending the to the contest, and I have been so lucky. But I think that more than lucky, I've been disciplined to work hard for that. And I had those opportunities to travel the world, thanks to continue learning as a teacher, having the opportunity to offer better classes to my students back in my town. So I know there are a lot of opportunities that we teachers, sometimes we don't know how to have access to them. So now it is easy because we have internet connection, we have this, like we are doing this now, but we don't have to wait to be really formal to talk about the things that teachers love to do. We can have informal conversation and share with the world what we can do, where we can find them, how if we work hard, how we can achieve them.
In my case, I participated in a global competition called International School Award, and I don't know English language. We have to write a portfolio containing all activities done in my school, and we have to search partners from around the world, partners, and do exchange our activities. I make it as a challenge for me and for my students to win this award. Today, our school is international school because of these connections and of this activities between other schools. And I participated as a twinning member in a global or European event called Europe Code Week. My dream was to obtain a certificate of participation, my first dream. I participated and I obtained this certificate for me and for my students. Connecting with other teachers using Twitter, I find form to apply to be leading teachers of Europe Code Week in Tunisia. I participated and I am now a leading teacher. And I participated with my students in a challenge, Code Week for all challenge. And I obtained my certificate of excellence. After that, I participated with another competition and we received our robot from United Kingdom. So this is a real impact in my life and in my students' life. My colleagues from Tunisia, today, every time I received many invitations from my country, from other countries, from around the world. Monia, please, we can exchange the activity. We can do this project together. We can do this activity. You can share with us how to do this activity or how to do this, how to use this tool. This is a great thing for me and a great opportunity for me and for my students and for my country and for my education system. And I am a change maker. Me, with my students, we can change the world using these connections. Thank you.
Okay, I have to jump in and say that that is everything. I mean, I couldn't contain my smiling while I was just listening to you. I had put out on Twitter, and I put it in our chat box too. We put this video together of our community around the world using their own language to say, I am a digital citizen. And when I look at, we have sign language in there, there's Arabic sign language, Spanish sign language as well. You know, when listening to everyone talking about a language as like, that was like one thing about how do I work around that and accessibility and inclusion. I just am so inspired by this conversation. I don't know if I'm going to stop smiling because all it takes is one person to stand up and say, I want to be part of that change. And then what you see is that one becomes many. And then when we look at this fear about like how to get connected, how to, you know, where do I start, or I don't have time for this, this conversation here is exactly why we all need to make time.
Okay, I'll go for question 4 now then, since we're going on this fine. Question 4 is saying, have you experienced any tangible benefits from your connections? And the second part of that, I think Monia has a bit to say, I'm sure. The second part is that, has the effort of building a connection been worthwhile? Now, I think, again, we can wax lyrical all you like. So someone, go ahead, kick it off. Actually, really quickly, I think this here is my tangible benefit. I think that had I remained in the classroom, I might have had an opportunity to go one class once a term. That this is amazing. I mean, this is something I get to take part in once a month with really informed and thoughtful teachers with a chance to engage. Now I do tutoring online, and that's connection 2, I guess you could say. Now I'm working remotely, and all these ideas came from that first step. So I think, again, it's really all about what can you do, where can you go? And this absolutely here now, right now, is my tangible benefit.
I think one of the biggest benefits is that whatever knowledge you share, the impact grows exponentially. It's out of your control the moment it leaves. And just that independency that it gets and does whatever it has to do in different environments for different people, I love every minute of it. And then in our group, we get back to whatever it did to us, and then we get back and it did different things, and then we learn from those different things, and it's just rolling and rolling, and it never stops. It's fantastic. I love that part that it's out of my control. You know, you share something and it just goes out there. But you know, it got back to me more than once that, for instance, you said that maybe there's no one here today. Now we have few people. But for instance, I coached one of my friends who are teachers about something that I learned online. Now he's teaching the whole region the same thing because it changed his music classes immensely. He said, "Did you know you're famous?" I said, "No, well, it's not my thing. It's just something I overheard." "Yeah, but you showed me that. No one else did." So now I told him he has to mention that he heard that from someone who went online and learned that from somebody from Texas, because it's just the fun part. And now music teaching in high school in Croatia is different because of that. Literally different. They finally have online exams instead of piles of papers that everybody hates. So stuff like that. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes it's easy just to keep going along the same path and doing the same thing. Life gets very busy and we just get into this humdrum routine. But I think unless you take the step out and do something different and do something like this at whatever time of the night or morning it may be, just having these conversations with other teachers and other educators from around the world and hearing different experiences just propels you forward and thinking, oh, okay, there are different things that we can be doing with our students, and just implementing those ideas and encouraging our colleagues to just try something, even little, even the most cynical of colleagues, just give them a gentle push just to see, you know, what could happen. And the benefits, as we all know, are amazing. And it's I just feel so grateful to be involved in these meetups and connections. So thank you.
In my case, this meeting is a tangible effect of connections. I can touch my happiness to connect with you and to share with you my emotions and my ideas. And as Teach SDGs ambassador, I received many invitations to travel and to attend seminars in other countries. But unfortunately, in Tunisia, a teacher is not a rich person, can't travel. And I can't travel in reality, but every day I travel with my students virtually. We travel to around the world. We participated in a Skype-a-thon, and we in our classrooms we can change songs, dances, emotions, everything we can share, and we can travel from our classroom. This, for me, all of these things are tangible for me because I see the happiness in the eyes of my students.
I have to jump in and say that if my son were next to me, he'd want you all to know that it's on all of us to continue to like bang our drums in our own areas as loud as we can to inspire and empower others to want to be connected, because you know, when you think about access, it doesn't mean the same thing to everyone. He would tell you he's a connected learner in an unconnected classroom. He has access to technology, but they use it for typing skills or they use it to take an exam. They don't use it the way that we are describing, whether it's, you know, through the Skype-a-thon or any sort of events where we can break down classroom walls. So one of his quotes is, "Mom, if they want us to learn about the world, we need to learn with the world." And that's really providing these opportunities and to make sure that this is accessible for all students, not just, you know, maybe we're going to be fortunate and we're going to make a change in our own classroom or in our own school community, but how do we then continue? That's like skipping the stone, making those ripple effects to make sure that all students are able to make these connections in really meaningful and deliberate ways.
Grand, this is fantastic. I'll skip on to question 5 then. Got a bit more to go and I'll wrap up nicely. This is I think a very, very smooth process here. Question 5 says, this is a big one to think about philosophically, if you like. Where do you think you would be today if you had not connected with others outside of your school?
I'm going to jump straight in and be really quick with this. I know for a fact that I wouldn't be teaching if I didn't take the step that I did take and step outside of my classroom. I didn't leave my primary school classroom because I was fed up or frustrated with teaching at all. It was more of a case of I looked around at some of my colleagues and they were very bitter and resentful, and I just thought, I don't want to become like you. What can I do to improve my own profession so that I still can be the best teacher I possibly can be for my students? So I know that if I didn't make those initial connections and step away, I wouldn't be teaching.
I believe my students wouldn't be as connected as they are, and my entire team. I think I would be really, really bored. This is my 27th year of teaching, and no matter how hard you try to make it differently, it's still you trying to make it differently, and you're in your own stream of thoughts. So this input from other people, the ideas, the exposure to things I would never come up with, I loved every minute of it. And it made me way better teacher trainer and coach for my teachers. And then I ended up training them into coaching each other. So now I do the research and show them once, and then they mingle and observe one another at the classes, discuss it. So everything has changed. The dynamics has changed. I cannot imagine how static and how uneventful our classes would be. Although we had great success and they learned a lot, our language learners were always the best in public schools and so on, but it lacked something, and now it's there.
In my case, if I am not connected, I will teach my students computer science without computers. And I will teach them Word 2003. And I will teach my students how to type a text, how to draw a picture. But today it is not possible because our students are digital native. They are digital citizens. And they are global citizens. We have to think globally and act locally. And they have today, internet is everywhere, in their homes, in everywhere, in public places. So our students use their smartphones, and teachers have to be up to date and who have to learn more to help their students to discover this digital world and this global world.
Okay. Well, in my case, I think my students didn't like English the way they like it now, or they didn't like technology the way they like it now. Well, for me, having the opportunity to connect with teachers have provided me useful tips to teach, because I know what other teachers are doing in other part of the world. I know, I get to know about all the fantastic project works that English teachers do with the students, and how English teachers, and not just English teachers, how teachers have incorporated technology in their classes. So I try to bring as many as possible those ideas to my classes. For example, if I wouldn't be connected, if I wouldn't be teaching the way I teach now, maybe my students still, or maybe they still be using technology not as useful as they are doing it now. For example, as I'm teaching, as I'm an English teacher and I teach English, general English, my students have to deal with all the skills, speaking, listening. And I can see now that my students, that they see all the benefits of technology. I have had experience of students that are very good at listening because they have to start connected with students all over the world. For example, like the gamers, those students that love video games, and they can see that they can use technology to learn, to improve their skills. And in a way, they told me, teacher, I have seen how we use technology in the class. I have seen all the activities that we can do using technology. And I can bring that to my learning process. So I think that this is thanks to, as a teacher, I have the opportunity to get connected with other teachers. So I can provide those ideas to my students and they can take it for them.
I think for me, just briefly again, I think I'd be in the classroom still. I think that I would still have my focus, my main focus, my only focus on the learners in my care, inside my room, because it's my room. I think that without having that step outside, without having that big first step, I wouldn't have known what others can do for me and what I can do for them. I wouldn't have known that my ideas are good, because I think it was again a case of, I've always known, I guess, my ideas being different, but I think that it's being in this place here and having ideas that are sometimes not the status quo, and then you hear someone say, "But I did that." Like, whoa, what, really? And it's validation. I think that that's not always something that people who are willing to grow and change in school systems or in any system, they don't always get validation when they're new or when they're different. I think there's oftentimes too dissuasion. You're often encouraged to toe the line because it's always worked. Quick story, my father, he was a banker, and when he was learning to go beyond that, he went from mortgages, he went from brokerages and things like that too. He took some night classes and he saw some interesting ideas. Went back to his boss one day and said, I think we can improve. And this is what I think we should do. We should have the people who are our back-end staff work the front desks as well, so that they can get the customer service experience. And I think this really would help us to improve. And the response from his boss was, "But we're not the worst." And I thought, that's the nail in the coffin. And that's when my dad decided to leave Scotland, and we headed across to Canada. Not to speak ill of everyone in Scotland. I'm not saying this is the culture at all now, but there is a culture in some schools where it's a case of, but we're good enough. We're not the worst. And I say, let's change and be better, because we're not the best. Moving on, our last question is number 6. What advice would you give to educators who are either starting to build their network or are still working alone in their classroom? And I wish we had Cassie here to talk on that one, because she is a star. So again, what advice would you give? What have you done that you think has worked for you? And if you were talking back to your younger self, what would you say to yourself? On you go.
Well,
I'm gonna jump in, and I have to say, our students deserve it. They need us to take this risk. And to kind of tie in for that 5th question, what would happen if I wasn't connected? I would feel so isolated. So I happen to be an untraditional learner, and I'm dyslexic. I never was out there. I would help individually, quietly, in places when I could, but I wasn't publicly out there. And representation matters. And I can tell you the community that I have been able to connect with and really start to think about accessibility and inclusion on many different levels, all different types, all of our students around the world, all different types of learners, they need us. That's my message.
I would say offer something before you ask for something for yourself. I was trying to find answers, but then with time I learned that if you start conversation with offering something, your personal strength is, or I don't know, your field of interest or something you're strong at. If you start with that, better conversation starter than just asking questions other people. Then you participate immediately in building a community around it. maybe that may help people feel more comfortable in an initial conversation. And I definitely agree with you, Marialice, that it is our duty. It's just, it can't go without it anymore. You can't go in front of these kids and tell them that you're not connected in any way. And their phones are in their pockets all the time, and they are connected. I mean, my son, I think the first thing he did with a cell phone, he's 15 now, he started licking the cell phone because he stole it. The next second he knew how to connect and Google something. I think it's just 2 months in between or so. So we just have to count on them being faster than us in it, because they have grown with it from the very beginning. And it's fair to admit that we have to learn from them a lot, and we have to openly ask them, what is it that I'm not providing? Can you show me the direction? And then I promise I will learn more than you may, because I'm older and smarter in some of the fields. But ask your own students for some guidance. They love that. And they see that you're trying to learn for them. You're not preaching at them all the time about stuff they don't really care about.
If that's good, I mean, if you want to stop there, it's fantastic. But again, offering up to you, if there's something you think that you should share with you or your younger colleagues in school, have a think about those who are just starting out in your school now, or if you have even some family members who are beginning teaching. What would you tell them to get them on, not the right track, because they're likely on the right track, but to progress them that bit further, so if they do have an idea that is contrary, that will work, how would you say to them, it's okay to be different? How would you do it?
Are you asking me or everybody else? Well, just first step, go open Twitter account and start do your research and learn 5 hashtags and follow people who have something to say on that topic. That's a start. Just do something before you don't do anything.
Well, I guess that to start, it's important to let them know that it can be overwhelming if you want to get all the information at first. I guess you start to connect according to maybe your subject matter, what you're teaching, try to find teachers, try to find things in common. And then you start like spreading your net, getting into bigger connections. Because that was, from my personal experience, that was what I did at the beginning. I was connecting with teachers in my surrounding area. Then I moved to online teachers that have many things in common. And then that was how I was building my my network. And I sometimes I felt that I wanted to do it all at a time and get all the information, but then I realized that I have to go step by step. Then when I started using Twitter and when I was using social network, it was easier for me to get connections. So what I think is like what teachers should do at the beginning was get ready in the social network and start like posting the thing that you would like to learn about. You will find people, you will find teachers that would like to learn about the same, that teacher that would like to walk with you on the same pathway, and that's how in your networks.
Well, I think that this has been wonderful. I think that I'm so grateful to have had time with all of you here, and to have met you over the years too. Again, to reiterate, for the next time, we do have an event coming up next month, and I hope that you come by. I hope that you put your weight on there too, and show your support, because this has been phenomenal. Also, one little plug to give out to Cassie, because she couldn't be here, but next weekend is something called I Change Global, and it's taking place in the States next week, and it's going to be, again, global as per the name. It's going to be, I think, a day event, again, 24 hours long, which will be people from all around the globe sharing their thoughts and their ideas and speaking like we're doing just now, allowing for a variety of viewpoints and encouraging a wide variety of viewpoints. So please, if that appeals to you, if you're a new educator on your beginning journey, check it out, because it is a magical place to come to. We have in our website for ceduad.com, there is a blog place, and if you'd like to, share some ideas you have about connecting with others, your journey, your story, whichever, what you want to do, please write for us. We'd love to hear your ideas. We'd love to share your ideas too, to get you connected with others. Follow our hashtag CEMM or CEDUAD, CEDUAD at all times, and you can hear different ideas for different people. It has been lovely having all of you here. I'm so glad you could make it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My best last advice to all my colleagues: go and connect with others. Be the change you want to see, and you will find teachers who can help you, and I will be the first one. Thank you so much.
That's beautiful.